All right. Welcome to the new year, everybody. Hope everyone had a great holiday break, great and safe holiday break. It's time to get back into the groove. So we'll start off today's meeting with 3.01, the Land Acknowledgement Statement. We acknowledge that the Franklin-McKinley School District and our schools are located in the Muwekma Ohlone Nation, the sovereign nation and original people of the skies, land, and waters, where we learn and work. The Muwekma Ohlone people are the stewards of these lands and of the teaching and learning that comes from and responds to the needs of the land and people who share it. May our daily lives and work, learning, teaching, and community engagement support the evolving vision of the Muwekma Ohlone for their community and these lands. 3.02, flag salute. I will ask board member Mimona Afzal-Berta to help us lead in the flag salute.
Please stand for the flag salute. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
So at this time, I would like us to have a moment of silence in honor of Hillary Lopez. So if we can please observe this moment of silence. Okay, so Juan, would you like to speak a little bit on?
Yes, we tragically lost a member of the FMSD community, Hillary Lopez, who served as a social worker at Franklin. And so I'd like to invite the public for a memorial that will take place on January 20th at Franklin at 5 o'clock. Tragic, it's very, very tragic, and the family is having, we're supporting the school and the families during this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juan. And make sure to make that. Moving on to item 3.03, approve, disapprove additions to the agenda. Board members, do we have any additions to the agenda? Seeing none. We'll move on to item 3.04, approve, disapprove, order the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3.05, report of action taken in closed session. One.
The board unanimously approved the December 14, 2021 closed session minutes. There's usually no other action to report. The board also unanimously approved the stipulated request for waiver of expulsion hearing for student A. The board unanimously approved the stipulated request for waiver for expulsion hearing for student B. There are no other actions to report.
Thank you, Juan. Moving on to item number 4, oral communications. Members of the public may address the board on any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board or agenda items. Members of the public may also address the board on consent items before the board's consideration of the items. In accordance with Board Bylaw 9323, individual remarks will be limited to 3 minutes each unless otherwise stipulated. No action can be taken on any agenda items at this time. Questions may be referred to the administration or put on a future agenda. So on to 4.01 oral communications. Juan, do we have anyone on the list?
We do not.
Seeing so, we will go on to item number 5, information, discussion, and or action items. 5.01, resolution number 2022-02, supplemental early retirement program. That would be Jason.
Good evening, board members. Tonight, the district staff are bringing towards you to look at a resolution to approve so that we can go through our analysis of a supplemental employee retirement plan. This is a plan that we have brought to the board in the past. And obviously, this is an opportunity for us to approve a resolution and then allow us to receive interest letters from staff. And depending on the number of staff that accept resigning under this CERP plan, potentially we could have savings as a district. We would bring that final analysis back to the board in February or March, depending on how many people sign up and if we choose to change the deadlines, if you will, for receiving forms. And at that point, the board can take the plan and say, yes, we want to approve the plan. We want to approve it for certificated, non-management, or classified, non-management, management, certificated, or management classified. You do not have to accept all groups. You can accept one of the 4, 2 of the 4, depending on savings and your interpretation of the analysis. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to 2 representatives from Keenan Associates to talk about the CERP. And after their presentation, we can have additional time for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, members of the board and district staff. My name is Gail Beal, and I'm with Keenan Financial Services. I also have with me Deborah Despain and Amanda Allison, and we'll be happy to entertain any questions you have either during or after the presentation. So the Supplemental Employee Retirement Plan, CERP, we go through a specific process, pretty analytical, but we also want to make sure that it's transparent and you have as much information as possible. So we really take a look at the purpose for a plan, your demographics, the type of enrollment that you will have, what those financial outcomes might be, and then finally, any HR controls that you might have going forward. So we've been doing these plans since the early 1980s. I know that things have progressed since then. We started out with non-qualified plans. We now have what we call a qualified 403B group annuity. That's important because you as a district have a plan document. If the IRS were ever to come in or you were ever audited, you have that plan document specific for your plan. It's also a benefit to the retirees because it provides them with some tax options, some tax deferral options if they choose to take those. Most districts look at these plans when you're looking at declining enrollment. Certainly COVID over the last couple of years has caused an increase in these types of plans just because individuals are perhaps not comfortable with being back in a classroom. So it's really designed to help with declining enrollment, avoiding layoffs, and for the retirees, enhancing retirement benefits. This is a plan that's completely separate from STRS and PERS. So one does not affect the other in terms of benefit options. And then really it's a comprehensive way to provide individuals with a respectful retirement benefit. For the district, it really allows you to put together a plan that benefits you as an employer, but also your employees. As Jason mentioned, it's really a no risk, no obligation plan. So we take you all the way through enrollment. And then you have the opportunity to look at what those final results are before you approve moving forward. We make sure that all the individuals who are eligible for the plan understand that. But we want to make sure that you're not charged for any obligation until you fully approve the plan. For the retirees, there are really a number of benefits, but there are 9 options from which individuals can choose. And perhaps this would allow individuals to delay taking their state retirement. They can leave that on hold for a while. And then a lot of school district employees have a private 403B. It allows those to perhaps grow and delay those benefits. From the 9 different options, several of those are eligible for tax deferral, either in total or in part. So a lot of flexibility built into the program for the retirees. I think for me, the demographic study is really the most important piece. When we look at your demographics, we want to make sure before we ever start enrollment that we really feel you have a probability of a successful plan. So within this group, we took a look at the 4 different groups. And I think one of the things to note is the average age of each of the groups. If we saw something where the average age was in the 50s, we probably would say not a good time to offer a plan. But within the group of everyone being 55 years of age with 5 years of service, you have 72 certificated non-management individuals who are eligible, 1 certificated management, 94 classified, and 6 classified management. Within those groups, the average age is well over 60. Typically for teachers, the best age for retirement, if they choose to do that, is around 62 and a half. So the band of average ages, very good demographic for a successful plan. It's worth noting also that individuals wouldn't necessarily have to retire from STRS or PERS, but just retire from Franklin-McKinley. Looking at benefit options, and I promise I won't take you through every number here, but I just wanted to give you an example of what a benefit option would be per group. So looking at your teacher group, the average salary being a little over 100,000. Glasses are fogging here. The first 3 options are life only for the retiree or participant. So in the case of option 1, this is a monthly benefit of $272.68 payable per month for the life of the participant. There's no survivor options in this case. Options 2 and 3 do provide some survivor options, as well as do the others. But in the case of option 2, this is the only benefit amount that's figured on both the participant's age and the beneficiary. So in this case, we're assuming they're about the same age. The $250.74 monthly benefit for the retiree, the survivor would get 50% of that for his or her lifetime. And then life for 10 years, again, monthly benefit for the retiree. The survivor would be guaranteed that same amount up through the first 10 years of the payout period. So if this participant passes away in year 11, there would be no survivor options. The other remaining are what we call period certain benefits. You'll see the 5-year benefit is highlighted, bolded, and that's because it's the one taken most frequently. I think most people like to get the highest amount of money in the shortest period of time, so this is the one we see chosen most often. So a little over $1,000 per month for 60 months. That's payable either to the participant or the survivor, so all benefits will be paid out. And it works that same way for the other specified periods of time. And you'll note that options 4 through 8 Our asterisk, those are just noting that those are the ones eligible for tax deferral. So someone can start taking the money in cash. 6 months later, they realize they don't need it all, so they'll shelter half of it. Maybe 6 months later, shelter the whole piece. So a lot of flexibility built into it over a period of time. And again, I think the 5 years, the most often taken, and then we see the 10-year also as one being an option that is taken frequently. So we looked at a couple different scenarios. And again, this is based on the averages, so not specific individuals, but assuming you have 18 teachers take the plan at 65% of salary as the contribution amount, all positions being replaced, the net savings is a little over 1.3 million over 5 years. When I say net, that includes the cost of the plan, plus we subtract out a natural attrition number. So assuming 2 would have gone anyway, we subtract that savings out. So it's net net. You have one certificated management person. If that person leaves, benefit contribution of 45% of salary, you're going to save almost 26,000 net over 5 years. And just as a note, with all the groups other than the teachers, you're typically not going to see a large savings because you don't have the bandwidth in your salary schedule that you do with your teachers. Classified, assuming you get 18 people to go at 35% of salary, replacing all, you're saving just under 60,000 over 5 years, and classified management at 45% of salary, 2 people going, you're going to save just over 27,000 for a total of about, oops, sorry about that. I don't know how to go back here. I think I keep hitting that, don't I? Can you take me back? Sorry about that. So the scenario results, if you don't replace, and these would just be some non-replacement scenarios, nothing definite. If you do not replace 3 of the 18 teachers, your savings goes up to about 2.3 million over 5 years. If you replace again your management folks, those savings numbers stay the same. If you don't replace 9 of the 18 classified non-management, your savings is about 1.7 million for a total of a little over 4 million over 5 years. Again, this is based on the averages. When we do the final cost analysis, excuse me, we consult with district staff to make sure we're getting specific numbers and specific individuals before we make that final analysis available to you. So your timeline, obviously, the timeline is triggered by your approval to offer the plan. So assuming you decide to move forward, we would have announcement letters prepared for the district to send out to each individual who is eligible. We would do group meetings starting in about a week and a half. Individual counseling sessions, which are very important to us. We bring in counselors, or we can do it virtually, so everyone has an opportunity to sit down, go through their specific numbers. We would do those toward the end of January. And then right now we would want the SERP enrollment forms returned by the early part of February, and then bringing that final cost analysis back to you in March for final approval. Retirements would need to occur, or resignations, by the end of June. Plan effective date would be July 1st, and first checks would go out August 1st. Initial communication, certainly the board resolution, and specifying again, this plan really is based on participation and who takes the plan and what those final savings numbers are. We'll again prepare that announcement letter. Group meetings are very important. We'll make sure that in that announcement letter, all the specific dates are itemized, and we want to make sure that there's a link where people can sign up for individual counseling sessions. Group sessions, kind of general. We go through similar information to what you've seen here. We also go over specific timelines. If someone has not been able to sign up for an individual counseling session, we'll assist with that. And then remind them certainly of specific dates such as deadlines and when to expect their check. For that meeting, we bring out a representative from CalSTRS. They'll go through CalSTRS information, answer questions that individuals might have specifically on state retirement. CalPERS will come out at the request of the district, and we will give them a portion of the group time as well. Individual counseling sessions, I've been doing these for many, many years. This is vitally important. This shows your employees the respect you have for them by giving them the opportunity to meet with someone individually to answer questions that perhaps they're not comfortable asking in public in those group sessions. But I think even more important, they can bring someone who might be helpful in making that decision with them, such as spouse, partner, child, attorney, financial planner. And all of our counselors are retirees from public education. So they understand the retirement process. They also understand what it's like to be retired after many years of teaching or working in a school district. So it's not just the financial piece, it's more that respectful piece that we offer through the individual counseling. I mentioned a link to a website. It's called Appointee. Individuals will have the opportunity to sign up for those individual counseling sessions. This gives us the opportunity to provide district staff with how many people are signed up. We can send out reminders to the individuals. And then everything is done through DocuSign. So as we get information back in, packets are signed by the participants, they immediately go to the district for signature. So you have an ongoing wrap up of what's happening, and you don't have to wait till the deadline. There have been a number of CERT plans that you have offered over the years. We just wanted to make sure you could see, and as you pay for these, you pay for them over 5 years. So you can see that some of those payment periods are ending. A couple of them are still going out, but wanted to give you the opportunity to see what those payments are. And then if approved, we would add this one to that. HR controls are certainly important at the end. As I mentioned, we want to make sure that when we do that final cost analysis, if a position is not being replaced, we know, is it for a year, 2 years, 5 years, so that you're getting an actual accounting of what that savings is. So we want to make sure we understand, we want to make sure staff understands among departments what those controls are. Just as a review, we are the plan administrator and consultant, so we do all the enrollments. We also provide an 800 number where individuals can call our home office at Keenan if they have questions. Sometimes there might be a death. So as long as there are any participants in the program, we'll still be around to do that client service. The carrier for the program specifically is United of Omaha. That's part of the bigger Mutual of Omaha, very highly rated. We do our due diligence on them annually. Typically, they have the highest annuity rates in the country, so we want to make sure that we're following up on that at least annually. The payments actually come from United, as well as all the tax documentation at the end of the year. Excuse me. Just team experience, on average, we do about 20 of these plans per year. Again, I've been doing them for many, many years and providing public agencies with significant savings on an annual basis. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Board members, I'll open up to questions. We'll go with Rudy.
Yes, on the, let's see, way back at the beginning, let's see what slide it is. First of all, thank you for the clear explanation.
Sure.
On slide, I believe it's 7, the demographic study.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you have the total eligible employees. This is an easy question. And it says average age and average service. Is this the average age of the total eligible employees or total employees overall through the district?
Is the average age of the eligible group. And the average years of service are here at Franklin-McKinley, not necessarily career-wise.
Not necessarily the group, it's just the average
It's
service.
the average of each group. So your teachers, you can see the average age a little over 60. That's the average age of those 72 people.
And then the service is the average service of those 72 people?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, and then looking at the timeline. So let's say somebody in any of the groups fills out the form and submits it to enroll in SERP.
Uh-huh.
So let's say before June 30th, and let's say it's approved, but let's say they change their mind and say, oh no, I don't want to retire. Can they withdraw the enrollment?
Excellent question. Typically, it's an irrevocable decision unless the plan does not move forward, and then they can rescind their resignation. However, the caveat to that would be, it would be a district decision.
Okay. And then my last question is there I think in the past we've done this, we need a minimum number of employees in each of the groups to make it cost effective for us to proceed with it. Do we have a minimum number for enrollments this year of the eligible employees?
So those numbers that are on those financial pages, go back here. So these numbers, estimated participation, when we say estimated participation, that's typically the target number, if you will. What oftentimes happens, however, is if you say we need 18 teachers to take the plan in order for it to move forward, you might get 16, but they're all at the high end of the salary schedule. So the savings is equal to or maybe more. So that's why that second analysis is so vital. I think what most districts do is say it needs to be financially or fiscally sound in order for it to move forward, rather than putting a specified number on there. But these would be the expected numbers from our view, and perhaps staff has other thoughts on that.
So Jason, are you going to let us know like you've done in the past? And you'll let us know if it's cost effective with your recommendation? Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rudy. Manuel.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I do have a couple of technical questions that are just arising from what you just said in the resolution. With regards to the financial analysis, will that be a simple salary analysis, or will it be a total compensation, meaning whatever bridge benefits that someone would retire to and be entitled to under any collective bargaining agreement or any other kind of benefit that's entitled to a retiree, the district is still going to have to pay for some of that, right?
Mhm.
And will that be factored into the analysis?
Yes.
So then at what age would we say, or would we hypothetically say that that person would have retired?
Well, let me back up. So in terms of, we don't do that specifically because we don't know how many years someone is going to retire early. But any benefits that are due them at the time of retirement, we do factor that into the analysis.
Thank you.
But when we do the analysis, we always figure in the difference between what that CalSTRS and CalPERS benefit cost would be for the current employee versus a new employee. So you're getting some statutory savings there.
The other issue that you had brought up was the irrevocable letter of resignation. Here in the resolution, it just simply says a letter of resignation. So would that be something that the resolution would have to be amended to reflect that irrevocable? Because otherwise, I mean, we would want, obviously, if the employee is interested, fills out the packet, we want them to be committed to that idea. And of course,
Sure.
if the plan didn't go forward, the board would let them go back to status quo.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily would need to amend the resolution. I think that would be something that, you know, based on your policies, you would need to make that decision. But when we have the packet of paperwork and when they meet with the counselor, we let them know that it is an irrevocable decision unless the board pulls the plan because of lack of savings. So we're very, very clear about that.
So that mechanism is embedded in the application itself.
Correct.
And in the recommendation that would be brought forward on February. And so just like in normal circumstances, when we get a letter of resignation, we accept it and it's irrevocable at that point. And so that's sort of the mechanism that is there. I'll just say that there was once when we did, because of a special circumstance, something had happened within the family, that we did pull back an individual's resignation because of that. For their request and because of the circumstances that were not foreseen at the time when it was approved.
But there was mutual agreement between the employee and the district as to that issue.
Correct.
I was curious in terms of two other issues. The years of service, does it matter if they're consecutive or could there be a break in service for the eligibility requirement?
Typically, it's consecutive years of service. Again, that would be, you know, if someone had a break in service and they wanted, maybe were not on the eligibility list and wanted to come back to the district and petition for that, that could be something that the district could make a decision on, but typically it's 5 years of consecutive service.
And my last question with regards to the first bullet, it looks like at least the first bullet says they have to be a certificated or classified non-management employee. And then it says that they have to be a part of the certificated or classified bargaining unit. What's the thought process behind that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Jason, do you?
So under where the first eligibility, the resolution says the employee must be a certificated or classified non-management employee of the district and member of the district's recognized certificated or classified bargaining units or management. No,
The resolution, Jason.
in the resolution itself. Yeah. Oh,
First page.
yep, first page, resolve further. It just talks, it's the bullets that offset the eligibility requirements for employees. The second part. And a member of the district's recognized certificated or classified bargaining units. I don't know if it's duplicating. I'm curious to know kind of just the thought process behind that eligibility requirement.
So I think if I could clarify, Member Martinez, what you're saying is that it indicates that if they're not part of if they're not part of FMEA, CSEA, that they would not be eligible based on how it's written. I don't believe we have any that are not, but I understand your point that it is indicating that the eligibility is based on them belonging to the associations. Is that the question?
The question is, what's the thought process behind this eligibility requirement? Yeah, on that specific issue.
Yeah, but in the past, there was no option of not being a member of the union, but that is no longer the case. So there would be potentially somebody that was an employee of the district, but not necessarily a member of the association. So what we can do is if you'd like, we can amend the resolution to not include that last part of that eligibility and just simply say it must be an employee of FMSD employee, certificate of classified non-management. We can clarify it that way. Yeah, because they're not, I don't believe we have any that are not part of the association, but to be oh. Yeah. But there is also the possibility of a non-sub that could have opted out of the association. Is that correct?
The reason I ask isn't because of affiliation. I know that it raises interesting questions about affiliation. The purpose of my question is more of, from a mathematical standpoint, the more we limit certain groups, the less benefit that we can enjoy as the district in terms of the cost savings. I'd hate to leave eligible folks who otherwise would be interested in this off the table if we're looking for, in the hypothetical that was given, two people could make a difference between whether or not this moves forward or not.
Yeah. But I do believe that the reason it's written this way is to exclude substitutes which are considered district employees that are certificated and classified, but it would not be eligible. In the situation where we had many opt out of the association, I would see your point in terms of limiting. I don't currently believe that there's anybody that has opted out, so it would be encompassing of all the total eligible, just the way it reads right now. But I think we need to think about it in the future. If we do have staff that are opting out of the association, to be clear about that, because then that would exclude them.
Could we ask our bargaining units about that? And if they agree with that, that's okay to leave it that way?
I mean, I have not gotten any objections to the way it is. And actually, I think we all got an email from FMEA indicating their support for this.
Okay. That's all that matters.
But I think it's a valid point in regards to how it's worded. Now that we know that, because again, in the past, there was no way of opting out of the association. Now there is, even though we don't have, here in this district, that as an option, as something that's happening either in other places, it is. So, but I think it's a good point to make sure that we word it in a way that does not limit the number of eligible, because we want the maximum that are eligible to see this as an option.
I think and I appreciate that. That's really where I was just kind of going with that with regards to the math. The other one is just, I mean, if it's too deep, please tell me, Manuel, pass on it. I'm just curious about reciprocity. Folks that come in may have service somewhere else. Does that matter at all in terms of like, does that other entity, we're not going and asking that other entity for contribution or anything like that?
No, this is strictly 5 years of service here at Franklin-McKinley, has nothing to do with any prior service.
Thank you.
Mhm.
No more questions.
All right, thank you, Manuel. Mimona?
I don't know if I missed this, but in terms of in calculating the financial impact, what is the cost that the district would be responsible, or is there a percentage to Keenan?
Yes, so Keenan is paid a commission. We are paid 5% commission as premium is received, and it is included in that premium amount. So because I'm an English major, not a math major, I'll use an easy number for me. If someone's salary is 100,000 at 65% of salary, obviously the contribution is 65,000 payable over 5 years. And that's your total cost. And that's total cost for everything, including our commission, the enrollment. And again, you're not billed for any of that, unless obviously the plan moves forward. So as we receive that premium, that includes the commission, but there's nothing over and above that.
So it's dependent on the number of participants then.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mimona. Members, do you have any more questions? George?
When was the last time that we did this one? Okay.
You can see how those premiums are spread out
Yeah.
over 5 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was 2 consecutive years that we offered this,
Right,
and
we did.
this was because we did have a large eligibility pool, and we were able to get enough to opt in, which then we brought to the board, knowing that we were going to actually have savings.
Mhm.
We haven't always brought forward for all the groups, because when the analysis has been done, there was no cost savings to the district. In some cases, there was a cost. And so, as we all know, gift of public funds is an issue. And so we did not make that recommendation to the board to move on others at that time. So the analysis is really the important piece, so that we can bring back to the board a recommendation that says, we either cost neutral or cost savings, and we recommend the board to move forward with it if that's the case.
Yeah, my feeling is that if the our bargaining units are okay with this in terms of moving forward, I would feel comfortable with that. Thank you.
You're
Presentation, very, very good.
I do have one question on the same slide as well. Just to clarify, in 2019, in 2017 and 2019, we offered a classified 45%, but then it got reduced in 2020 down to 35%. Is it an option for us to go back up to 45%, or is it something you give us an analysis on? No, I'm not asking to change these plans. I'm just wondering why there's a reduction from 2017 to 2019 for classified.
The reason is the eligibility pool and how many, and also the ability for us to realize savings. And so one of the things that we actually had at one point, if you notice in 2017, it was offered 65% for certificate, 45 classified. Prior to that, we tried to do 65 and 65, so it'll be equitable across the board, but it wouldn't realize the savings. So that's one of the reasons why we've brought it down, so that there would be an opportunity for some benefit to each of the classifications, so that it pencils out either cost neutral or some benefit, so that it's offered. The higher you go on the classified, because of the difference of in the salary schedule, it does not yield a benefit to the district, and therefore we can't offer it.
Right, that makes sense. Because I remember now I'm starting to remember that we did have buckets and analyze those buckets on which one is more cost savings. If we can go to slide 10 and 11, 10 first. Something that doesn't make sense here to me is the certificated management 45% and the classified management 45%. Because here you have the estimated participants as 1 and the positions to be replaced is also 1.
Mhm.
So when the next slide, can you go to the next slide, please? The next slide where we put the positions not replaced as 0 and we still have the same net savings. To me, my assumption is that we're no longer requiring a backfill for this position. So wouldn't the savings be that full 5 years?
Actually,
Or
so, and now that you mention it, we should change this. Thank you. So this is positions replaced on slide 10. Slide 11, it's positions not replaced. So for both your management groups, you're replacing all positions rather than having some non-replacements, if you will.
Okay.
So that's why the number's the same.
I'll try to wrap my head around that.
So what it
So-
says is that we would, the 0 should really be a 1 and a 2.
Oh, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, they changed the title. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. There you go. That
And we need to make that clear. So
Yeah.
thank you for pointing
to
that
me, I'm
out.
just like thinking. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that presentation. Very
You're welcome.
detailed and understanding. Because this is at the end of the day, we do want to provide the best benefits for our retired teachers and anything that then, especially with this year, but we don't know what the outcome is. But let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the time.
So this is a resolution, board members, so I will accept a motion.
Are we making an amendment to the resolution or where do we land?
So
on
I
that?
think we ended up that the wording needs to be kept that way to exclude our substitutes. And we do not believe that there's anybody that is opted out, so I think it won't exclude anybody. But in future, that's something that we need to sort of look at if we do have that situation. So I think it's fine the way it is right now.
I would think this would be something that could be brought up to the bargaining units, just so they're aware of it. If they're still in agreement with it, right? Then I have no. The board is more comfortable.
It was shared with them and they were, I mean, again, I think we all got an email just shortly before the board meeting
Mhm.
from one of the associations in support of this.
So I move to adopt resolution 2022-02.
Second.
Resolution number 2022-02 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that is unanimous. Thank you so much again. So moving on to item number 6, consent items. I will read this for all consent items. So items 6, 7, and 8. Consent. Members of the public may address the board on consent items before the board's consideration of the items. In accordance with board bylaws 9323, individual remarks will be limited to 3 minutes each unless otherwise stipulated. One, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on these items? Seeing none, board members, is there any items in consent items 6, 7, or 8 that you would like to pull? Seeing none, we'll go to item number 6, and I'll take a motion for this.
Move to approve items 6.01 through 6.03.
Second.
Consent item 6.01 through 6.03 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That is unanimous. Moving on to consent item 7. Whenever you're ready, board members.
Move to approve items 7.01 to 7.03.
Second.
Consent item 7.01 through 7.03 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is also unanimous. Moving on to construction items 8.
Mr. President, I move to approve items 8.01 through 8.05.
Second.
Construction items 8.01 through 8.05 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to action items. 9.01 personnel report, Vice President Rodriguez.
Mr. President, I move that the personnel report be approved as submitted and that the retirement for the following employee be approved. Maria de Guzman, food service assistant, Franklin, 12/18/21. The employment for the following employees be approved. Iber Moreno, custodian, 1/10/22. Marcos Martinez, custodian, 1/11/22. And the resignation of the following employee be approved. Erica Hinojosa, secretary, Windmill Springs, 1/20/2022.
Second.
The personnel report. Sorry. Item 9.01 has moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Moving on to item 9.02, the December 14, 2021 board meeting minutes. Board members, take a minute to review, and whenever you're ready, I'll take a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve the December 14th, 2021 board minutes.
Second.
Item 9.02, the December 14, 2021 board meeting minutes have been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Moving on to item 9.03, Superintendent Cruz. Reporting on delegating authority to take the necessary action to protect students and staff from the spread of coronavirus.
Yes, thank you. One of the actions that we took was to set up COVID testing last week as we got ready to return to in-person or back to school this week for most other schools. So I want to thank Jason and his team in Color for making that happen. It turned out that we were fortunate to do so, as the testing out in the community was not available as a result of the surge. So we ended up being very fortunate that we had already set that up before we left for the holiday break. So we had a significant number of students come in and get tested before we returned this week. In addition to that, we were able to distribute the rapid test that the state provided, one for every student. So we made those available to the schools. They distributed those on Thursday and Friday of last week. And then on Monday, for those students that didn't pick it up, they either sent it home with them or tested them on site, depending on the numbers and depending on the grade levels and those kinds of things. So we're fortunate to be able to have access to those and be able to at least know who's positive and take the appropriate action as a result of that. In addition to that, Jason and his team have secured additional rapid tests for us to use as a way to assess whether somebody is infected, if there's a close contact. If we're having a in-person professional development, we will do that rapid test before the session. And they've also purchased additional kits so that the next vacation we have, which will be the winter in February, and then the spring break, we will give each staff member and each student a test kit to take on Friday, so that they can test upon, right before they return after that week's vacation. So those are steps that we've taken to make our best effort to keep everybody safe. And we'll continue to look at different strategies in doing so. Luann and Jason's team as well are continuing to look at our inventory, our PPE, to make sure that we have the appropriate PPE available. We are mandated to have N95 masks upon request of unvaccinated per Cal OSHA, and so we have make sure that we have those available for that. We're making sure that we have the surgical mask for adults and students as well. So again, trying to stay in front of the supply chain, kind of issues that sometimes we've experienced. But so far, we've been able to secure those the PPE and these tests as well. So we'll continue to make every effort to do so. In addition to keeping students safe, we believe that our schools are safe, and in some cases, having them not be at home bored or not doing something productive. Amy and her team put together with the collaboration with Coral a winter program, our first winter program that I don't know that I've ever remember having a winter program, even when I was in school. So we had 4 days that we had students come in to Windmill and Santee. So I'm going to turn it over to her to give us a real quick overview of what took place, and very excited that the students had that opportunity.
You can just come up to the
Yeah.
podium,
Yeah.
Amy.
Just come up to the podium, probably.
Amy, if you can just come up to the podium.
Summer says that the audio on this one is better.
Sorry, thank you. Good evening. Yeah, I'm really excited to be able to share a little bit about our program. It was something that, as Superintendent Cruz mentioned, that we had not had the pleasure of being able to offer for our families. So super impressed with the collaboration. I just want to also give a big shout out to my director, Sarah Feldman, as well as America from Coral. They did an excellent job in just their collaboration and their planning, and Jason and his team and helping us with facilities and PPE and rapid testing and food services. For never having run this program, and Sarah and I were the site principals for 4 days, which was really fun for us to be able to be on campus and see the kids and just experience the process in terms of our protocols and our procedures. We tested every student the first day in rapid testing, and that was a little bit just like controlled chaos and trying to figure out making sure everyone is safe and how to use the tests. And we had a lot of parent support and help, and a lot of positive feedback from our families. We had teachers as well as Coral staff that were working with our students. We had very small class sizes. I would say Windmill Springs is probably our biggest participation of students. We had about 80 students on or off. We had, some students that had some flexible days, but we offered an academic or / enrichment opportunity for our students in the morning, with teachers overseeing and Coral staff supporting. And then families and students had the option to leave at noon or extend their day to 3:30 and continue to participate in the Coral enrichment activities on campus. And I was just so impressed with the Coral staff that we have and the leadership and our partnership with Catholic Charities. So professional and organized, and very conscientious in working with our families and making sure that students are safe and following protocols. I don't know what else to say. It was pretty, it was pretty,
Yeah,
I'm a little biased, fantastic.
Yeah, part of having them come in, right, and having a safe place to be. They got breakfast, they got lunch, and then they got supper and a snack every day to go home with. So again, just thinking about, our schools, our classrooms under, the direction of our staff and Coral, it's a safe and in a lot of cases engaging for students, right? And so as opposed to staying at home watching TV, that was something that we felt strongly that given the opportunity, and I'll just say also the staff, our teachers that stepped up and said, look, I'll come in 4 days, from our vacation, give up 4 days and provide this in spite of everything, all the challenges that we're facing. So just a great, opportunity for our families and for our students. And so very, very thankful for the staff that stepped up and provided this.
Yeah, and then we're hoping that, I'm sure a lot of families weren't, we've never provided this before, so they may not be aware of this opportunities. We did open it up to all our families, but we'll continue to look at how we can expand this through our longer breaks. And we're already looking at doing some planning for next year and extending it not only for a winter camp, but also the spring break. So we are looking at opportunities that when we have a longer break from school that we can offer those enrichment and academic opportunities for our families. So, more to come on that, but we'll just appreciate your support and being able to offer this for our families. So thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do we have any questions? No? Great job, Amy. Great job, district staff. Can you remind me, Juan, how many students were in attendance in this winter enrichment program?
I think we had about 80 at each site.
Yeah, each site? Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we had a little bit over 100 initially registered for Windmill and about 80 for Santee. Certainly, I think the surge probably had something to do with it, and also at the time, probably the parents felt that they could get the students to give up some days, and certainly that may have played into it as well. But in any case, right? The 120 students that participated, we would have wanted more, but those 120 students got the necessary support and enriching experience. So we're always looking to do that, regardless of how many students show up.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the update, Juan.
And so if there's no other questions on the other part of what we're doing with our safety measures, I'll just let the public know that we will be keeping our COVID safety measures the same they were prior to leaving for the holiday break. At one point, I had mentioned that we were going to look at relaxing some of our measures, but given the current surge, I think it's just prudent for us to hold off on any changes. And so once we see the surge die down, there may be an opportunity for us to pull back on those measures and create some more flexibility at the school sites. But at this time, we're going to stay with the status quo.
Great. Board members, do we have any questions for Juan? Manuel?
Yeah, do you mind just repeating maybe for the folks that are listening where we are with regards to the quarantining? I know that there's been some different statements by other government agencies, and we've taken a pretty definitive one. And I just like to hear it. I know as a parent, it would, coming out of the break and coming in, it was a little bit challenging kind of understanding exactly what we're doing here locally.
Yes, thank you. We understand, obviously, CDC, during the middle of the break, announced changes to the quarantine requirements and lowering the requirement to 5 days and things of that nature. Then obviously locally, California Public Health and then Santa Clara County Public Health had to sort of align and think about the different protocols that we would be following. We are following our standard protocols as of when we left in December. For now, we are taking this opportunity this week to work with public health and all the different changes that they've been making. And then we will be communicating that out on Friday in terms of what our protocols will be moving forward after this week. We felt that we needed some time to sort of understand and digest the changes and then give us an opportunity this week to train staff and make sure that everybody is understanding of the different protocols. So to avoid confusion and avoid, all that, we felt that it was prudent for us to just stay with the practices and the measures that we had in place before the holiday break, and then, use this week to make those changes.
Thank You, do you have any more questions? Okay, thank you so much, Juan, for that update. We will now be moving on to item 9.04, resolution number 2022-01, Black History Month. Superintendent Cruz.
Yes, and this is our annual resolution that we bring forward, recognizing February as Black History Month. As is our practice, we will make sure that our schools have access to resources that they can use to commemorate, obviously, this as Black History Month, and as well, any activities that they may have, we will inform the board in the event that you are able to participate.
Board members, anyone?
A really quick comment that I know I've personally been able to use resources from the Center for Racial Justice on, we have great like do's and don'ts even on, just making sure that we're being intentional about, when we do have specific months that we declare, we acknowledge that that's not the only time period that we're, teaching these histories or celebrating. But also just, just guidance. Sometimes I think as educators, there's always learning to do. So that's one of the resources that I wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Mewana. So seeing there's no more questions, I will accept.
I'd like to move that we approve resolution 2022-01, Black History Month.
Second.
Item 9.04, resolution number 2022-01, Black History Month has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that is unanimous. Moving on to item 9.05, noon duty supervisor babysitter hourly rate. Annette?
January 2022, the minimum wage requirement for the San Jose minimum wage ordinance was raised to $16.20 per hour. District currently pays duty supervisors babysitter. It is recommended that the proposed supervisor/babysitter hourly
Board members, do we have any questions on this? Yes, sure. Memo.
It says that it's effective today. Is there a reason why we're not going backwards? Because if the San Jose ordinance, I'm guessing, and I haven't read the San Jose ordinance, took effect the first, does that put us in any problems? Or maybe people didn't work prior to the. Understood.
But if the board would like us to go back to the 3rd, which would have been the first, the 10th, is the first day of their calendar, paid calendar, then we could do that. But usually,
I don't know how my colleagues feel. I'm comfortable with it going forward today. It's a lot cleaner legally from the perspective of, moving forward with clear direction to staff in terms of, a specific date.
Yeah.
I was just curious in the sense that if we were subject to something else, what was kind of the.
we are actually exempt, but we feel, a lot of the noon duties, the last time this came up, when it went up, we understand that a lot of the noon duties are our own parents of students in our community, and there's such a few hours that we felt that we should align with minimum wage. So that's why we bring it forward, even though school districts are exempt from that requirement.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on this, board members? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Move to approve the proposed new duty supervisor babysitter hourly rate increase of $16.20.
Second.
Item 9.05 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That is unanimous. Thank you so much. We will move on to item 10, communications from our superintendent.
Yeah, I just want to, say Happy New Year to all of you. our community. It seems like it's deja vu once again, and we are, with such difficult time with this pandemic. But I'm just very, very thankful for our team, our parents, our students. I do believe that we're all doing everything we can to keep everybody safe, and that's all we can ask. And so, appreciative of everybody, and as we navigate these very difficult times, and we certainly hope to be able to get past the surge and potentially, end the pandemic sooner rather than later. But I can't imagine, what situation we would be in if not for the work that our staff are doing, and the support that our families and students are. I can't imagine. So thank you for everything that everybody's doing, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll be past this surge, and hopefully get past this lengthy pandemic so that we can get back to some level of normal. So thank you.
One. Moving on to item 11, communications from Board of Education, 11.01, board member reports, and we'll start with Mona.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Superintendent Cruz and Jason and Amy and the entire district team really for their work during the break, and those who continue to work, and especially Superintendent Cruz for his foresight and really thoughtful planning to help make sure that we had testing available, as one of few districts that really had the capacity that we did during that extra week off that our students had, to be able to take advantage of the color testing. I know even for myself, it was coming back from the break, it was like everyone's scrambling to find testing, and here's our district that's able to provide testing for our students in addition to the rapid testing. So, and for ensuring that it's, was a smooth and seamless process as well. I just wanted to extend that gratitude and to everyone for their patience and collaboration during these challenging times. Thank you.
George?
No, just hoping again, like everyone else, that we get back to normal times sooner than later. And I think we're all pretty exhausted, at this point. So all we can do is hope for the best. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Manuel?
Yeah, I'd also like to echo the same thanks and gratitude to everybody, but also to the extent that we can also rely on each other and be excited about this upcoming few months of learning before we hit the summer break. I mean, there is a lot of exciting things to do, pandemic or not. We have each other, we have goals, we have wonderful community, and to me, let's also say that out loud as well, because together we're stronger as a team, and that's how we're going to get through that, is to remember to look at each other and pick each other up.
Thank you, Manuel. Rudy?
No report.
And I would also like to echo the same commendations to our district staff, our entire district staff. I talk about going through the thick and thin with each other. I mean, this past 2.5 years that we've been through this, like it's challenging on everybody, and for us to even be here still to start everything back up again and get everything in the groove and try to get things, but with all these variants coming up, the only thing I can say is we hope for no new variants after this one. So let's just hope for the best and try as much as we can and just keep this momentum going for the rest of 2022 and into 2023. Okay, so with that, thank you, board members. We'll move on to 11.02, agenda item requests. Any item requests here, board members? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 12, future business. We have none. Item 13, future meeting dates. You can read that there. And item 14, we're not going back into closed session. So item 15, I would, Vice President Rodriguez, can you?
Yes, Mr. President, I move to adjourn in memory of Hillary Lopez, in addition to the moment of silence we gave earlier to recognize the loss.
Second.
For adjournment, we have a motion to adjourn in memory of Hillary Lopez.
Hillary Lopez.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned at 8:18 p.m. Thank you so much.